Alright guys, so in the previous videos we have built the page section, you can see, and also we have built the social media section and the footer section. So in this video we're gonna build this header section, and in the final video we're gonna make the website responsive. So this is the header section. We have this logo, then on the right hand side we have some navigation items, and if I open up the depth tool to go on small screen size, now you can see we don't have the navigation menus. And if I click on the hamburger icon, you can see we have this side navigation and we have the same links. And also I can close this, and if I scroll down and scroll up, you can see the header slides down with a blue background, and if I scroll up to the top, the background disappears. And if I scroll down, scroll up, the background appears, and if I scroll down the header disappears again. Okay, so basically this is what our header. So let's create that. So I'm on my app.js file. Let's create a directory inside the components directory. I will call it header, and inside the header let's create a header.js file, then header.styles.js. So let's create a component, and let's open up the app.js file. Let's import header, and let's add the header. Alright, so let's go to the header.jsx file. Actually, let's go to header.styles file. Let's import style component. Let's first create a container. Tag will be header. Then we will need an inner container. And the tag will be div. And we need a background. The tag will be div. And now we need a logo container. And the tag will be div. Then we need a logo component. And tag will be image. We need a side navigation component. Tag will be nav. Then we will need a nav link. Tag will be anchor tag. Then we will need a nav icon container. And the tag will be div. Then we need a language icon container. And it will actually inherit style from nav icon container. Then we need a fly button. Then we need a header navigation. And the tag will be nav. Now side navigation is for the small screen size, and the header navigation for the big screen size. Alright, so these are the components we will need. So let's import them in the header file. I'm gonna paste the value here. I'm gonna paste the import statements here. Alright, so we have imported the components from the header.style file, and also we have imported SVGs as React component, the ham icon, close icon, and the language icon. So let's use these components. First we're gonna build the logos, then we're gonna build these navigations. Let's add a container. I'm gonna remove this div. And inside the container we're gonna add inner container. And inside the inner container, we're gonna add the logo container. And inside the logo container, we're gonna use the logo component. And the source will be logo. I guess I haven't imported that. Yep, let's import that. So I have imported the logo from media icons logo. So let's add the logo here as a source. And we don't see the logo because the logo is white and also the background. So let's fix that with style. So let's go to header.styles file. Let's go to the container. Let's add position of fixed. And top will be 0. Left will be 0. Z index will be 10. Width will be 100%. Background will be transparent for now. And now we can see our logo. Let's go to the inner container. Let's make display flex and align items to center. Padding of 2 rem and height will be 10 rem. Let's go to the logo container component and let's make flex scroll of 1. And let's go to the logo component. Let's make width of 20 rem. Alright, so our header logo is looking pretty good. So now we need to work on the side navigation. I will open up the div tool here. First we're gonna add the hamburger icon, then we're gonna build this side navigation. So let's go to the header file and we need to import the useState hook. And let's create a state. And the state name will be is nav open. And the initial value will be false. And after the logo container, let's add nav icon container. Let's add the ham icon. The onClick handler will be a separate function. So const toggle nav. I'm just gonna copy this logic from here. And I will paste it here. So onClick will be toggle nav. So we have this hamburger icon. You can see it is color black, but we will fix it later. And I will also copy this one and I will insert close icon. Now we need to change the icons based on the state. So if is nav open is true, then I want to render the close icon. Else I want to render the ham icon. So if I click on the hamburger icon, we don't see the close icon. I guess I need to sell them in order to see. So let's go to the styles file. So let's go to the nav icon container and let's select the SVG and fill will be white. Let's add Z index of 20 and height will be 3 rem for SVG and width will also be 3 rem. And cursor will be pointer. And now we can see the close icon and we can toggle the icons. So when we will click on this hamburger icon, the side navigation will be displayed. So we need to handle that logic. Let's go to the header.jsx file. I'll create a separate component. So const navigation container. This component will take a prop called parent Parent is a component. So let's add the parent here. And I'm gonna create an array of nav links. I'm gonna paste that here. So I'm gonna loop over the nav links. Let's put a div. And inside the div, we're gonna add the nav link. And the key will be the item. And I will insert the navigation container after the inner container. And let's pass parent. And parent will be side navigation, because this will be seen as a side navigation on small screen size. So here is our link. So let's go to header.styles.js. Now when the nav will be open, our container will take the full height and width of the screen. So let's go to the container first. So our container will expect a prop called isNavOpen, which will be this state, isNavOpen. So I'm gonna pass that here. So isNavOpen will be isNavOpen. So we can pass a function here. So props will be the first parameter. So if props.isNavOpen is true, then I want to use a CSS mixin. I have to import CSS. And let's add some style. Let's make overflow y to auto, so that we can scroll on our container, and width will be 100% and height will be 100 view height. I will change the container background from transparent to a hex value 03D, which is blue. Alright, so you can see our container is now taking the full screen. Now you can see that we can scroll through our body, but we don't want that. So let's go to header file. When we will toggle the side nav, we will also lock and unlock the browser body scroll. So I'm gonna add curly braces here. We're gonna change the overflow y value of the document body style. So document.body.style.overflow y, because we only care about the vertical scrolling. So if isNavOpen is true, then the value will be visible, else the value will be hidden. So let's close this nav and open this nav again. You can see we don't have the scroll bars and we cannot scroll. Alright, so our scroll will be locked when our side nav will be open. And if I close the side nav, you can see we still have the background. So we need to change the background using a state. So I'm gonna create another state. I'm gonna call it displayBG. And the value will be false. And on the toggle side nav, we will also change the displayBG state. So set displayBG, and the value depend on isNavOpen state. If isNavOpen is true, then the value will be false, else the value will be true. And let's pass the displayBG state as prop to the container. And let's go to the styles file. Our background will depend on the prop. So if props.displayBG is true, then the value will be that blue color 03D, else the value will be transparent. So if I click on the nav, you can see we have the blue background, and if I close this, now we don't have the blue background. So let's go to the header file, and navigation container will be open only if isNavOpen is true. So isNavOpen and navigation container. So if isNavOpen is true, then we will have the navigation container. Okay, so now we don't have the list, and if I open up the site nav, now we have the links. So now let's style the nav links. So let's go to header styles. I guess I have styled the site navigation. Nope, I haven't. Let's add some style. Let's make display grid and grid row gap will be 3 rem and padding will be 5 rem. Now let's style the nav link. Let's make text transform to uppercase and font size to 1.5 rem. Font weight of 600 and letter spacing of 0.23 rem. Let's make position relative and cursor pointer. And our nav link is looking good, but we need to add the hover effect like this. We're gonna add the effect using the after pseudo selector, but I'm gonna create a CSS mixin for that because I'm gonna use that style on other component. So I have already imported the CSS function, so let's create the mixin. Const link underline CSS, and let's add that mixin to the nav link. And let's go to link underline. First I need to use the after pseudo selector. Content will be empty. Background will be hex value 38f. Height will be 0.2 rem and width will be 100%. Position will be absolute and left will be 0. Bottom will be -1 rem. And let's make display to block. So you can see we have this underline. Now we need to scale it to 0 so that we don't see that. So transform scale X will be 0 and transform origin will be left. Okay, so the underline is gone, and whenever we will hover over this link, we will see that underline. So let's go to the nav link and let's use the hover state, and we're going to select the after pseudo selector. It means that when we will hover over the link, we want to select the after pseudo selector, and I want to change the scale to 1. And if I hover over the links, you can see we have the underline, but that is too harsh, so we're gonna add some transition to it. So transition transform in 0.2 second. And now we have nice animation. And now let's add the language icon. So let's open up the header file. So I have already imported the language icon. And inside the navigation container, and after we have mapped over the links, I'm gonna add the language icon container. And let's add the language icon. Let's go to the styles file. Let's go to language icon. Okay, so language icon container. Let's select the SVG here. Let's add height of 5 rem, and width will also be 5 rem. Alright, so that's it for the site navigation. Now this hamburger icon and the site navigation will only be mounted if the screen size is small. If the screen size is bigger, then we don't want them to be mounted, and even if they are already mounted, if the screen size goes bigger, then we want to unmount those elements. For example, now the site navigation is open. If I go on full screen, this site navigation should not be mounted to the DOM. We want to unmount that if the screen size is bigger. So let's close this. I'm gonna create a custom hook. I will create a directory. Inside the source directory, I will call it hooks. And inside the hooks directory, I'm gonna create a file. File name will be usemdmediaquery.js. And let's import useEffect and useStateHook. And let's create a hook, const usemdMediaQuery. And let's export this. Let's create a state. State name will be isMD, and the default value will be false. Let's return the isMD state. Let's add a useEffect hook. I want to run this hook only once, so that's why an empty array. Now let's create a media query value, so const value. So this will be our media query value, and with this media query we're gonna change the state of isMD. It will tell us when we are on the small screen and when we are on the big screen. So we have to call the match media method from window object, so window.matchMedia, and we need to pass the value here. This will return us an object, so let's store that, const media query. This media query is an object and it has a matches property. It can be either true or false. If the screen size is less than 900 pixels, then matches will be false. If we are more than 900 pixels, then matches will be true. So we're gonna set the state, so set isMD media query dot matches, but we want to keep listening to the media query object, media query dot add listener, and we need to pass a callback function which takes an object as a parameter. I'm gonna call it E, and we need to set the state, so set isMD. This E object has a same property called matches, and we need to pass that value here, so E.matches. And when we will unmount the component, we want to remove the listener, so media query dot remove listener. We're gonna pass the same thing. Okay, so that's it for this hook. So basically it will tell us when we are less than 900 pixels or more than 900 pixels. So let's close this file and let's go to header file and let's import that hook. So import use md media query from hooks slash use md media query, use md media query, and let's call the hook const isMD use md media query, and let's import useEffect hook, and let's use the useEffect hook here. I don't need this return function, and the dependency will be isMD. So whenever the isMD state will be changed, I want to do some operation. but only if isMD is true. So if isMD is true, then I want to close the side navigation. So let's change the state, set is nav open, it will be false. And I want to unlock the body scroll. So document.body.style.overflow y will be visible. And now let's go to the nav icon container. We will mount this component only if the isMD state is true. So isMD is true, then I want to render the nav icon container. Oh, sorry, it should be if isMD not true, because we want to display that on small screen size. Alright, so we have the hamburger icon. Let's go on full screen, and now we don't see the hamburger icon. And now let's open up the side nav and let's go on full screen. The side nav is now closed. Alright, so let's go to the header.styles file and let's go to the background component. We don't need this. So now let's handle the scroll up and scroll down animation for the header. So let me show you. So let's close the side nav, and if I scroll down, you can see that the header slides up, it disappears, and if I scroll up, it slides down with a background color. So we need to handle this functionality. So let's go to the header.jsx. We need to add an on-scroll event handler to the window. So after the toggle nav, let's create a variable. Let priv scroll position, and the value will be window page y offset. This will give us the previous scroll position. And let's add window dot on scroll. This will be a function. If the nav is open, we don't want to do anything. So if isNav open is true, then I want to return false. And now we need to get the current scroll position. So I'm gonna copy this one and let's change it to const. And instead of previous scroll position, it will be current scroll position. And now we need to compare the previous scroll position and the current scroll position. If current scroll position is more than previous scroll position, that means we have scrolled down. I want to disappear the header, so I need to change the state. I guess I haven't created that state, so let's create a state. Use state, and the state name will be display header, and the initial value will be true. So I want to change the state, so set display header will be false. Else I want to change the state to true. I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna pass true here. So let's console log the state display header. Let's see if it works or not. I'm gonna open up the dev tool. So let's scroll down. You can see false is printed out. Let's go up. We don't see true printed out on the console. There's a problem. Let's see. Okay, so we need to change the value of previous scroll position after every time we scroll. So previous scroll position will be equals to current scroll position. So let's see if it works or not. So let's scroll down, and now let's scroll up. You can see true is printed out. Let's scroll down. Now false is printed out. Okay, so it's working. Let's pass this display header state to the container so that we can animate that. So So display header will be display header. And let's go to header styles file. Let's go to container. And let's add a transform property. Let's add translate y. And we need to pass a function here. Props will be the first parameter. If props dot display header is true, then the value will be 0, else the value will be negative 100%. Negative 100% will slide up the header and 0 will slide down the header. So let's see if it works or not. Let's scroll down. Let's scroll up. And we have the header. Let's scroll down again. Let's scroll up. Okay, so the functionality is working, but that is too harsh. So let's add transition. So transition, I want to animate all in 0.5 second. And let's scroll down. You can see we have a nice animation, but we don't see the blue background. Let's fix that. Let's go to the on scroll handler on the window. If the current scroll position is 0, then I don't want the background to be seen. So display bg state will be false, else it will be true. So set display bg, and we need to pass a condition. If current scroll position is more than 0, then we want to show the background. So let's see if it works or not. Let's scroll down, and now let's scroll up. We can see the background. Let's scroll down. Okay, so it's working, and when we hit the top, the background disappears, and if I scroll down again, we have the background. Okay, so the background is also working fine. Alright, so that's it for the header for the small screen size. Now let's work on the header for the big screen size. So I will move this browser tab to another workspace. Alright, so I will close the div tool. Now let's add another navigation container after the logo. So navigation container, let's add parent, and it will be header navigation. And also I need to pass another prop called display bg. I'll tell you why it will be useful. And I only want this component on the big screen size. So if isMD is true, then I want to display the navigation container. And here we have this links. So let's go to the styles file. Let's go to the header navigation. Let's make display flex and flex wrap to wrap. Now let's add align items to center and justify content to space between. And we need to add some spacing between the links. So I want to select every direct children. Let's add margin on the left and right hand side of 0.5 rem, 0 for top and bottom. And now we have some spacing. And actually let's just open up the div tool. Let's go more than 800 pixel, but not too far. Okay, so that is good. We will add more margin when we will make the website responsive in the next video. So that's it for the nav links, but I haven't added the fly button. So this fly to space button. So let's add that. So let's go to the header file. Let's go to the navigation container. After the language, I will add a div. And inside this div, I'm gonna add the fly button. And inside the fly button, I will add a span tag. And inside the span, I will add the text fly to space. and I will pass the display BG prop here. Now why we are going to use the display BG prop? So you can see that on the big screen the background is blue and the color, font color is white. If I scroll down and let's scroll up, now the header has a background of blue and the fly button has a background of white and the font color is blue. So that's why we will need this display BG state. So let's go to the styles file and let's style the fly button. First of all, I don't want this to be seen on small screen size, so I'm gonna add a media query and I will add max width of 900 pixels. I want to make it display none. So now let's change the font color, and this will depend on the display BG prop. So again, I'm gonna pass a function. So if props dot display BG is true, then the value will be 03D, else the value will be white. And also I want to change the background color. Actually, I will just copy this and it will be background, and I just need to reverse the order. I'll paste it here and I'll cut the white string and I'll paste it here. Alright, so let's see if it works or not. We have the blue background and white color. Let's scroll down. Now let's scroll up. We have white background and blue font color. Okay, so it's working fine. Let's remove the border and add padding of 2 rem. Now let's add text transform and it will be uppercase, and font weight will be 600 pixels, and cursor will be pointer. Okay, so this is our button. Now let's select the span tag. Let's make it display block, and position will be relative, and we also want the hover effect of this nav icon. So I will add the CSS mixin link underline, and now let's select the hover state. When we will hover over the button, I want to select the span tag, then it's after pseudo selector, and let's add transform scale x of 1. So let's see if it works or not. Let's hover over the button and you can see we have this hover effect. Okay, so our header is now done. So in the next video, we're gonna make our website responsive for the bigger screen sizes. So that's it.